Okay, I'm on the second floor and I want to talk about trying to cool the house a little more evenly. What I'm using is that white device over here. That's a sensor for like a remote sensor for my thermostat. So I had a programmable thermostat when I moved in here, and basically what I would do is generally what I do is I set it 5 degrees lower or cooler in the winter, so I drop the heat 5 degrees, and I wasn't sure what to do with the AC, but what was happening was, say I kept the thermostat in the dining room at 76. On the hot days there would be a 5 degree difference, so up here would be 81, or so I think I had it at 77, and then it was 82 up here. So I end up lowering it, say like 5 degrees in the dining room, down to 77, and I set that to go early at night in the evening, so it would drop the temperature up here. By the time we're ready to go to sleep, or at least come up here. And it wasn't really working that great because the downstairs was cooler. So if it was cool, it was getting cooler down there for a few hours. By the time it came up here, it sort of felt warmer, but it was doable. It was okay. But what was happening was I would wake up at like 2:30 in the morning, and it was back up to 82 degrees. So, and I went downstairs, I looked at the thermostat, and it was saying it was at like 72 or whatever. I dropped it down to try to get up here to 77, and it just warmed back up. So it cooled the upstairs initially, but what was happening was there was a lot of energy coming from the attic. I thought maybe the attic wasn't being ventilated properly, and actually I don't think it is, but that's a different discussion. The attic for this model house, not the other model houses. Most of the other ones that I looked at, just like to look at, they seem to be ventilated fine. But anyway, so what was happening was there's only 8.5 inches of insulation in the ceiling. So it's a truss system. So they're actually 2x4s that make up the ceiling and the rafters and stuff. And so on the 2x4s, they just like stapled from down here, like 8.5 inches of insulation for like actually 7.25 insulation for like a 2x8. And it really should have had, I think, like 11 inches of insulation or 12 or whatever. So, but what happens in the attic in the summertime is it absorbs heat. So the studs, all the material that's in the attic, including the sheetrock on the ceiling, it absorbs the heat. And what was happening was it was radiating that heat at night, and that was like raising the temperature up. Actually, it's not just the ceiling, but the exterior walls and everything else. Even though the exterior is insulated fairly well with 2x6s, that's like a 5.25 inch insulation. And then you have your sheetrock and your oriented strand board, and depending on whatever finish you have, you get some R value, but it was heating up. So that was kind of a waste of electricity. So I got a programmable thermostat. Then it's an Ecobee. They're made in Canada, and it has these remote sensors. So, and I can program the thermostat to use the temperature of the thermostat in the dining room during the day, and then say at like 7 or 8 p.m. I can tell it to use the sensor on the second floor. So like right now it's about a 2 degree difference. I think I can show you. and it's in the middle of April, so we haven't had like that too many hot days in a row. But so you can see the thermostat is reading 76, and I'm using two sensors. Sensor on the main floor or in the dining room is 76, and up here is 78. And it says occupied. Like before I came up here, the upstairs was unoccupied. So it senses activity. I don't know if it'll sense a cat or a dog, but it senses activity because you can set this thermostat to adjust if it senses activity. I don't go get that granular with it, but anyway, so there's a 2-degree difference today, but in like June or July, it could be a 5-degree difference depending on the conditions, how many days in a row and all that. So it's not that bad right now, but I can set this to be, say, I have downstairs set to 76. I can set this to 76. I can set the thermostat to use this sensor at 8 p.m. And make it 76 degrees or whatever temperature I want, and it'll start working at lowering the temperature. And then it will keep this room or wherever that sensor is at 76 degrees, regardless of what's going on downstairs. And I actually found that I'm cooling, the AC is running less because before it was cooling and dropping the temperature down in the dining room to like 72 when I was at 77, right? From 77 to 72, and actually then it wasn't working. So it might be working a little more now, but it's more even. It's distributed evenly. So if I was to go downstairs at 2:30 in the morning, it wouldn't be that like 5-degree difference anymore. So instead of trying to if you replace your HVAC system, throwing a bigger one in, that's not really going to help. But I mean, it's going to cool off up faster, but it's not going to address the issue. So I'm just going to show you the thermostat. I'm not going to get into all the settings, but I found that these work very well. And the thermostat that I got, it came with two sensors. I don't think they do anymore. So you can put multiple sensors. You can put sensors in different areas, but I could put a sensor in, say, the guest room and here. And it has an algorithm, and it'll split the difference. I don't know exactly how that works. But if I set it to use both sensors upstairs or 3 sensors upstairs at 7 p.m., it will cool. I think it'll average out. So if I had set it to 76, it'll average it out. Because the front of my house is going to have afternoon and evening sun, where the back has the morning sun. So the front is actually going to be warmer. So it'll split the difference if there is like a degree difference or something.